you ever look out into the vast sea of the universe and challenge even your own imagination? You don't think we're alone, do you? When you hear that the government is doing something, you always believe it, don't you? We are your third eye. This is Chasing Prophecy. Challenging your beliefs and pushing the boundaries of your imagination. If it's unexplained, we're talking about it. Whether you're a believer or a skeptic, we cover everything from political mayhem and tyranny to alien abductions and paranormal phenomena. You are not alone. This is the Chasing Prophecy radio program. And now your hosts, Jenny Nicasio, Sean Kelly, and Michael Anthony.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to Chasing Prophecy. We are on UPRN Talk Radio, also on 105.3 New Orleans, 107.7 Mississippi. So I got some news for you to go on real quick before we bring in our guest tonight, which is a very, very, very interesting guest. But tonight is the last show. What?
Let's just get to the guest. Let's not do that.
All right. Yep.
Yeah, that's not for public consumption right now. I'm sorry. I just don't agree with that.
Okay. All right. So we'll introduce the guest tonight. He has written a book for A Clear Vision for America, and his name is Bill Mucker. And let's give him an applause. Hey, Bill.
Hey, thanks for having me on. And hi, Mike. Good to see you again.
You too, sir.
So, Bill, talk to us about a little background about yourself and the book, A Clear Vision for America.
Okay. Yeah, I'm a Christian Catholic. And I'm a great-grandfather, a widower, Mizzou alum. I was an officer I guess I still am a Marine always. I'm captain in the Marine Corps with a top secret security clearance. I was involved in intelligence work in the Marine Corps kind of part-time. And I got into business as a consultant and became a work process management consultant. In other words, somebody that helped companies kind of fine-tune their planning and scheduling and reporting aspects, analytics, and things like that. And then after I retired, I was looking for something to do. And a lot of people kept telling me that they were tired of hearing me ranting about things that I should write it all down. So I tried to figure out how to write it all down. I almost flunked English in college, at Mizzou. So I don't know how good of a writer I was, but it was a challenge. So I decided to write down all the things that I was thinking about, what the political establishment has imposed upon we the people.
Well, I got your books yesterday, both books that you have, The Clear Vision for America. And what is your second one you wrote? I really didn't get a chance to kind of look at it like that.
It's called 2020, A Clear Vision for Our Future. And in that particular book, I wrote it in 3 parts. It's 20 chapters, and it's about our country and our culture and our Constitution, restoring our Constitution. And I the reason for writing that was I used to get a lot of invitations to go and speak to people, and I'd speak at these groups, and I thought, boy, these are some really accomplished, well-educated and intelligent groups of people. What am I doing here? And so I'd try and make it interesting. I'd try to get the audiences involved. And so I'd ask questions like, can someone tell me what the 5 rights are that are guaranteed us under the First Amendment of the Constitution? I couldn't get anybody. I couldn't get one group to give me more than 3. And I thought, boy, everybody says they read the Constitution, but nobody knows what's in it. And which tells me I don't think that many people have really read the Constitution. I think they just like to, sound like, hey, I did it. So it gave me the idea that I should really write something about the Constitution.
Okay.
So that was pretty much the theme for the second book. The theme for the first book was I would be with a group of consultants, and we'd be working someplace, and we were always, riding in a car, going to work or coming from work. We're always, traveling. And we'd talk about music and movies and sports and religion and, of course, politics. And I always had some pretty strong ideas on politics. And a lot of the guys and gals they didn't have a clue. They just knew that they were either Republicans or Democrats for life. So I would tell them, I said, the education system has become government indoctrination centers. They said, well, how can you say that? So I would go and research all this and tell them, this is exactly why I'm saying that. Our test scores are declining, and we're spending more money, and the more money we spend, the worse our test scores get. So how is all that working for us? I don't think the government's doing their job. So that's kind of what got into it. And so I wrote about taxes, about budgeting, about immigration, just about everything you can think of that the government does that kind of takes away our freedoms and our liberties. And so I devoted a chapter to the 20 worst problems that or issues that the federal government has imposed upon us. I guess you might say the deep state bureaucracy. And I approached it from like a business point of view, like, okay, here's the problem. Here's the background for it. Here's the history of the entire issue. And then here's like a cost benefit analysis. And here's a root cause analysis. And here's what I do about it. But I wrote it in such a way that I thought, boy, this is going to be boring. Nobody's going to want to read this. So I kind of put it in the context of developing some characters, and while they're riding along in the car, going from the hotel to wherever they're going to be consulting, they talk about these issues. So it's written in dialogue form, so it makes it a little bit more interesting and palatable. And so they kind of jostle back and forth amongst each other and ask questions and so forth. And each one kind of picks up a different subject type of thing. So that's really how all that came about. And then, like I said, after I wrote that and I start people asking me to speak and do book signings and so forth, I found out that there's really a need to learn about the Constitution. So I thought, I really need to do something. So I wrote I got the Constitution in the book, but anybody can get one of these little pamphlet books, with the Constitution in, and they're easy to get and easy to read. But I did it in the context of kind of the history of it, how it came about. And so I have a chapter called the Fabulous First, which is about the First Amendment and how it came about and what are all of our rights involved in it. And then I followed up with the second chapter, which I I thought I was going to get a lot of heat on, but I really got a lot of compliments on. And it's called the Sacred Second. And I think you guys can figure out that the Second Amendment is really the thing that we have that keeps it all together, because they come and get our guns, boy, they got us. We don't have a chance on anything, you know. And then the rest of the amendments I wrote about in the Bill of Rights and so forth. And then also my second part was about our culture. And I wrote chapters like Christian Lives Matter. I wrote a chapter called American Lives Matter, chapter called The New Abnormal, because we're really in a state of abnormality right now. We're not, what used to be normal is now abnormal, and what used to be abnormal is now considered normal. I mean, go to a Dodgers baseball game and you got the Sisters of Perpetual Indulgence doing a pole dance on the crucifix. I mean, come on,
Wow.
you know, we've all seen this stuff, and that's just an example where you see drag queens giving lectures to school kids on military bases, and I'm thinking, you know, what's happening in this country? How, you know, what's going on? And we see all this, you know, we're in the middle of Pride Month, and we see all this about pride, and I'm thinking, okay, do whatever you want to do, but do you have to shove it down our throats that you're so proud about having sex with the same sex? You know, I mean, to me, you know, it just seemed like all this is just so abnormal. And I just feel like eventually, I hope history, you know, maybe 50 or 100 years from now, they'll look back on this time and say, you know, you were really involved in a brutal civilization where you were murdering more than 60 million innocent babies before they were born, or some of them even after they were born.
Right.
You know, it just, you know, we don't have a moral compass anymore. It's just like anything goes. And I think what it's really all about is our political establishment, our deep state bureaucracy in Washington, D.C., is in a state of pedophilia, and this is all meant to divide us into getting us to a point where we become a one world nation. And the premise of my first book was the best government for we the people is a small, limited government that's close to home. And now we got more than 2,100 federal departments and agencies and bureaus with all kinds of layers of directors and deputy directors and assistant directors and all this stuff. And you and I, you know, just people out here, you know, hundreds of miles away from Washington, D.C., do we really need all this regulation? Do we need the government to tell us how to live our lives? I don't think so. I think we do pretty good on our own. In fact, I think we do a lot better than they do. So anyway, that's kind of, I guess, the long and the short of why I wrote the books and kind of what I'm passionate about.
Michael, do you have any questions?
First off, great explanation. I had questions in there that you answered for me. No, I truly did. You really hit on some top things that I would have tried to, you know, had some type of correlation with you and question and answer with you. But from the time when you wrote the book, the Vision of 2020, I believe that one.
Yeah.
All right. So you kind of were foreseeing the future. You were calling it out before it occurred, like a lot of us were. So you just might be a conspiracy theorist like I am, which is in a good way, which means you're a truth teller. You tell the truth. How do you think, from the point in time that you wrote the book and sat down and put your heart and soul into the writing, were you off at all on it, or do you think you were right on?
No, I think I was, and I think I've always been ahead of the curve on some things, but I think anybody could be ahead of the curve if they would just think about what's going on. So, for example, I've been blessed or cursed with an excellent memory, and I can remember back to, like the day that the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. I can remember what it was like to grow a victory garden during World War II, and I've worked all my life, but I've always felt like I really had a good understanding of how things worked, and I could see that, paying having politicians telling us what to do, and they're ruling us, and I'm thinking, wait a minute, that's why we revolted against King George III, because we didn't want that brutal government and having the quarters. Troops in the homes and high taxation without any representation. So if you go back and you start looking at all those things, you think, boy, we're heading in the wrong direction from that now. For the last 50, 60 years or so, we're really heading in a direction where we're going right back to where we're going to be ruled by maybe not King George III, but it's going to be somebody like that. And so I'm thinking, okay, how are we getting there, and why are we getting there, and what's the purpose of this? And then I look at politicians that, we're supposed to adore these people and they're supposed to be our leaders, but they're everything but that. And they get elected, and the next morning they start out on their campaign to raise more money for their next election. And I think, okay, who are all these people that are ruling us today? And they're typically lawyers, and some lawyers get pissed at me, but most of them will agree that, hey, our two greatest skills are fundraising and bullshitting, and that's what they do best. And that's who the politicians are. They're all part of this legal society that make the rules and govern the rules, judge the rules, do everything about it. And you can see kind of the direction that it's heading in, that they're heading towards wanting to make sure that we don't have a small, limited government. The government is in Washington, D.C., and they're not limited. The Constitution was written to protect the people against the government, and the way they rule now, it's the government. The Constitution was for the government to protect itself from we the people. It's backwards.
Yeah, it's a total reversal. But it's like the new blue is white, the new black is white, the new white is black. I mean, it's all in how they facilitate the agenda on us. So I want to ask you, this is a little bit off maybe of what some of the things you're writing, but as you said, you've been blessed with a great memory. Through your research, were you able to deep dive into this 2030 agenda and the future for America, the true heading of for America and where we're going?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Well, if we go back about 10 years, some people were starting to recognize that there was this thing called Agenda 21. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden I'm looking at the internet and I see, wait a minute, it's Agenda 2130. And so I got on and I read this and I studied it. Agenda 2130 is like the Agenda 21 on steroids. And it really spells out everything that the New World Order is all about, and how they want to be sure that, they rule the world, and it's all about, depopulation and it's just unbelievable. And most people don't want to spend the time, reading things like that. So I read it for them and then I talk about it.
Well, thank you for that. I really appreciate it. Sean?
No, I like I was telling him earlier, Mike, I did get both of his books, and I like the way they were printed, that you can actually see them. And it was just like, I maybe got to the first 30 pages, but I really, really enjoyed it. But we're back to the Constitution, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but isn't Article 4 something that for us to go after the government if they're not protecting us or something like that? Am I wrong? I don't know. I just thought I'd bring it up.
Okay, well, the Constitution is 7 articles. The first article has to do with the role and the powers of the legislature. The Article 2 is the role in the of the executive branch. Third is the judicial branch, and Article 4 has to do with the states and what rights and roles and powers are enumerated in the Article 4 for the states. So really, what happened, Sean, back in 1913, and this is kind of I'm a conspiracy theorist on this one. Somehow, the 17th Amendment was written that the states would no longer appoint the senators in Washington, D.C., that they'd be elected by popular vote. So in other words, we truly had exactly what the founding fathers were against, was mob rule. We now have mob rule to vote for the senators to be in the legislature in Congress in Washington, D.C., which meant that the states, in a sense, had like representatives or ambassadors to the federal government, where the House of Representatives was the people's house and the Senate was the state's house. Now they're both exactly the same. And now we got, and if the popular vote gets one plus Democrat in, then we're stuck with somebody like Chuck Schumer for decades, and that just isn't working at all. So yeah, Sean, you're exactly right. We're at a point where we don't have the powers anymore. They've taken it away from us.
They left it as a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Unnoticeable, untouchable, the change of the New World Order. Yeah, it comes with sadness. And I know the last couple of days have been hard on a lot of people also. We see every time that there's positivity for us, they have reaction towards us in some way. And now it's again, a political witch hunt, as Donald Trump always says they have towards him, which it's fact since 2006, maybe for the last 7 years, probably. I want to ask you something on your feeling on these 1023s that have come out, because I know you keep up on things. And if you don't know, it's fine, because I don't know everything. Of course, we can research, doesn't mean we're experts at everything or every topic. The narrative, the way I look at it, no matter what they do to these criminals under actions with proof on 1023s, everything goes by vote. Joe could get impeached, but it doesn't mean when it goes to the final vote that there'll be 238 votes that'll move him out of office. We know, because we saw that with Donald Trump. When they tried to impeach Trump, well, it gets passed in one area, but it goes to the second area and it doesn't go through. So what people right now, they're anxiously and hopefully waiting for a resolve of something to happen. But the truth of the matter is, it doesn't mean it'll parlay its way through the whole system and we'll have an impeachment. Even though we have criminality, we have proof of criminality. And this is part of how some of the system works within it. What are your thoughts on the 1023 and some of the comments that I just made? Because I think right now the public would want your insight.
Okay. Well, let me first talk about impeachment. Impeachment is just a political method to remove someone from a federal office. It could be a president, vice president, could be a judge or whoever. So the way that works is Congress has the power to impeach. So there's 435 congressmen. So you need 218 of them to vote to impeach. So that's when they had these hearings. And if you remember the first one against Trump, they were giving all the evidence against Trump, and then Trump's defense attorneys gave their side of the story. once they voted, though, because the Democrats were in power, they all stuck together. They voted to impeach President Trump. And all that meant was, if you remember, we saw Nancy Pelosi carrying this document, through the basement halls of Congress, like on a gold platter or whatever it was, takes it to the Senate. Then the Senate actually holds the trial. And the Senate, it requires the Senate 2/3 majority,
Right.
or is it 75%? 75% of the senators have to vote to convict the person being impeached, and that way they can be removed from office. Otherwise, they won't be. So what happened with Trump when he was president is the Democrat House voted to impeach him, but when they sent it to the Senate was pretty much divided, and we had a few people like the guy from Utah. I can't even think of his name. You know who I mean.
We'll look it up if we don't.
Yeah. Well, voted with the Democrats, but still it ended up, I think it was something like 56 to 44 or something like that. So there wasn't enough to convict Trump. So it was just completely dropped. Now you're bringing up, the second thing you're bringing up is the 1023s. The 1023 is a report, a document that the FBI uses to interrogate or investigate and record their findings on an individual that they're investigating, and to be able to use that to determine if they want to send it up for prosecution or to the Department of Justice, so the Department of Justice can make the decision if they want to prosecute based on the information, the allegations, and so forth that are in the 1023 form. So on the 1023 that we're talking about now is they interviewed people and they found out that how do I say this? The FBI was not passing on information that they found out on Hunter Biden, that he was accepting. I gotta tell it the way it is. Bribes. Yeah, they're bribes, right? He's peddling influence. This whole thing about, well, he's just an inexperienced guy who was on a board of directors and they gave him a bunch of money. That's all BS. He's out there in peddling influence to get his dad and the federal government to give money, support money for places like Ukraine, for all these oligarchs to get some money for their bank accounts in Switzerland, which is really what it's all about. So the 1023 is the Congress wanted to see this 1023 because it was incriminating, because it showed that the FBI, which I call the National Police Force, actually had all this information on all these allegations and reports on the Biden crime family, and they were sitting on it. They weren't pushing it on to the Department of Defense. So the House has a committee called the Oversight Committee. In other words, they're supposed to look over everything that's happening in America in the political arena and determine if it's legal or not. So they asked for the copy of the 1023 form that the FBI's got, and Christopher Wray, who's, in my estimation, one of the domestic enemies that I swore to defend our country against, he ain't going to give it to the chairman of the Oversight Committee, which is Jim Jordan. So pretty soon they get there. I guess the guy who really won it was Comer, who is the chairman of the Judiciary Committee. So he wanted to get it, and they wouldn't let him see it. And so finally, he had to issue a subpoena to get this 1023 farm. That the only reason and the way they knew that this 1023 farm existed was an FBI whistleblower came to Comer, the congressman, and said, "Hey, there's this farm 1023 and it spells all this out and you need to see it." So then what the FBI does is they sit on it. They won't send it until finally Comer, threatens to subpoena him, and indict him. So then what
is that the meaning of the I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is that the meaning of the contempt of Congress or
yeah, because if they decide they do not want, and you're right, I'm glad you brought that up. If the FBI decides, well, we ain't going to send this to them, they're in contempt of Congress because the Congress has got oversight power based on Article 1 of the Constitution. That's part of their job. So the Christopher Wray now he's kind of walking a fine line of being in contempt of Congress, which means that, he can be impeached or, he can actually, be prosecuted. Obviously, that's not going to happen because they're all in this together, right? The Department of Justice and everything.
Sure. It's the development of a new land for the elites. But when we get into this, and as you said, this whistleblower, some of us have knowledge to that. I for one, had some, maybe not everything of all the information, but they come to a skip. They bring this information and it's heavily redacted.
Yeah.
So that's an intentional act coming from this agency. Again, what did you call the National Police or
National Police Force? Yeah. Yeah. What they're doing is they're blacking out all the information. Right. So when you get to read it, you read it says the black of black and black. That's what they end up getting because this is a game they play because this deep state bureaucracy has gotten so powerful and so entrenched in itself, and they're all in this together. They all know each other. They've all been together so long. They all cover each other's asses. Can I say that on?
Yeah, you can.
Sure. Ass is not a bad word here.
That's exactly what they're doing. So they're covering each other's butts, and we, the people, we don't know what's going on. We're not privileged to see any of this stuff. They won't show it to us. And Comer says, and Jim Jordan says, hey, the American people should be able to see this. It's not classified. But the FBI, the federal police force, says, no, you ain't going to see it unless we redact it because we don't want any of our buddies' names out there because you'll think you'll catch on that they're the real criminals.
Yeah, there could be some names on there that match up to Epstein's airplane rides. I mean, who knows?
Who knows what? That's the whole thing. Who knows what's on there?
Right. And so when something like that comes and there's refusal and they're uncooperative, and your thoughts, are they again violating law and procedure to the Congress?
Yes.
So even with redaction, they're committing another crime.
Yes, I believe that they are. Okay. Let's say they finally Christopher Wray decides I'm not going to send this to Congress, and so Congress cites him as being in contempt of Congress. So they refer that to the Department of Justice for prosecution. The Department of Justice under Merrick Garland is in cahoots with the National Police Force top layer of convicts. Yes. And so he says, no, I'm not, there's not enough evidence here. I'm not going to carry it any further. I'm not going to pursue it. Well, we don't know that. We don't know what's in it. We never get to see anything. That's the whole thing. The government, the Constitution was written for we the people, and now they've hijacked it to a point where they do whatever they want to do and they can get away with anything because they're so entrenched in this deep state thing. When Trump first became president, I wrote down 20 things. I'm big on using this number 20 all the time, thinking, well, maybe people will remember it because it's 20. And I wrote down 20 things that Trump should do when on the first day he becomes president. And one of the things I wrote down was he should completely terminate the top 3 layers of directors and deputy directors and so forth of the CIA, the FBI, the NSA, all these government organizations that are infested with all these bureaucrats. But he left them all in there. And then he points to little Jeffrey Sessions to be the attorney general, who was probably the worst thing he could have done. And he left all the guys that were reporting to Holder, which was Obama's AG. He left them all in there, Weissman and all those guys. And so they just carried on business as usual, doing whatever they wanted to do. And here we are. We the people, we think, oh, things are different. We got a new guy at the top, and the new guy at the top has got his hands tied because now they're investigating him because it's just the same people that have always been in there are still in there. And we got the same people in Congress. We got, I researched all this. We got people in Congress. I forget how many of them. 36 of them have been in there up to 50 years. And, so many of them are in there for so many years. I did all the research. I wrote about all this. I didn't make any of this stuff up. In fact, I did the biggest majority of my research by going to government web pages and trying to figure out what was all on there, because then nobody could come back to me and say, oh, you made this up, or you Googled it, or you got it from Wikipedia or something like that. No, I got it from the government itself.
Well, a lot of these old senators and congressmen that are in office up there now, they're either due to die or retire, right? How's your feeling of the young ones that are in there now coming up?
I like some of them, but I think what happens is when they get there, they don't really have any power because the more senior ones are the chairman of the committees, and they're the ones who are kind of looking after everybody, and so after each other. So we just need to clean house completely, and so that's why in term limits in my book, I thought the House of Representatives that congressmen should have, instead of 2-year terms, should have 4-year terms, because in the 2 years they're in, all they do is fundraise and campaign for the next 2 years. Put them in for 4 years, 2 times 8 years, and they're gone. Benjamin Franklin had a good idea when he was the head of the Pennsylvania legislature. He said they could only serve 4 out of every 7 years, and the rest of the time they had to go on vacation. Well, these guys need a permanent vacation.
Yeah, many do. There's no doubt about that. I agree with the term limits. That's been a topic that's come across the board by so many patriotic people saying, what the hell? And I totally agree with the factor of 50 years into the stock market exchange. Because to them, that's what it was. It was build a scheme to get rich, insider stocks and things like that, shared information, everybody knowing about everything. I mean, look at the Clinton family. August 3rd, 1977, there was a hearing in front of Congress where a young lady came forth and exposed the corruption of a cocaine mega storm that was hitting America through his governorship. And they did nothing about it. They did absolutely nothing about it. And he was a kingpin in that operation. And there was testimony to it. August 3rd, 1977. People don't know how far back the two Clintons go and what they have been involved with and why we are where we are now. When you look at the government on the things that we see, the enemies that they have directly become to the American citizens, which they have, open borders and fentanyl and missing children and sex trafficking. And we could get into this in very dramatic, deep ways, but it's all criminalizing the government agencies with it because they influence everything about how they do everything. And I would only say this: I don't think Bill was smart enough or intelligent enough, especially one to jump ship on his own draft to have to be serve time within the military to protect and serve, which he ran away on that. But it's other people, for whoever they are, wherever they are, directed them on how to create the narratives of the riches and how to be influential and a dispensary for America on many different things, selling us out for one, selling jobs and companies out to other countries and benefiting them, while our own American citizens lost work, lost unemployment, and lost their lives. It didn't matter. It's been a world in works coming to where we are now. So when you have narratives like that are around and surrounding it, you have nothing but destruction to your own country. These are enemies and terrorists to our own country that we can't, it doesn't seem that we have a proper justice system that's capable, or that we could trust to be capable enough to help us eliminate this system. Do you think the military would ever step in?
No, and actually, the military's gotten to be as bad as the Department of Justice. What happened when the Clintons were in? It got to a point where if you were going to become go from colonel, which is the highest field rank, to general rank, it became all political. And I'm very good friends with, I talk on the telephone with a lot of my buddies who became 2- and 3-star generals in the Marine Corps. I got friends who are admirals in the Navy and the Coast Guard, Air Force. I'm an elected officer of the Military Officers Association of America, the Cape Canaveral branch, and we got about 1,200 members. Anyway, I know all these guys. They're all buddies, and they talk about it as achieving stardom. In other words, getting that star, because once you got that star, boy, you were it in the military. Yeah. Well, it used to be to get that star, you did it by merit. Now you do it by politics. And when Obama came in, he completely, they cashiered out about 275 very senior generals and colonels who were all conservatives, who were really merit-based military men, in order to get the political people in there. So now we have this whole political class of generals and admirals in the general ranks, and you can see with people like Milley, completely incompetent. And one of my best friends was a very good friend that served with Milley. He's a full colonel, retired in the Army, and he thinks Milley's a great guy. Wow. I'm thinking, how can this be? We leave $89 billion worth of stuff in Afghanistan. But anyway, what happened then is the military started building in all these advisors into the ranks. So, now we have these family advisors and different advisors and so forth. They're embedded in the military units, and they're making like 2 and 3 times more than our servicemen are. And this is all got this whole woke thing going that's invaded into the military, where now we have drag queens holding classes for children on military bases. And I'm trying to tell everybody, America's in a state of decline. Just look at the craziness that's going on in America today. But yeah, so the military, I really think the military would never get to a point where they would attempt a coup on the government, because actually the military reports through the Secretary of Defense, who's a cabinet member, senior cabinet member on the president's staff. So in president's cabinet. So I don't think that would ever happen. I would hope it would never happen. I would hope that somehow we can find a way to keep the Democrats from figuring out how to bundle up thousands and thousands of ballots to put in these drop boxes, so we can have a fair election and maybe get some clear thinking patriots back in office.
Yeah, well said. Well said with that, Sean. I'll give me 1 second here. You hit on some things again that were great. Some of the I actually had things that I wanted to bring up to you, but you're basically putting them all out there by how you speak. So thank you for that. Yes. Going further, just a little bit further, are there any military branches that you're aware of that are above military, secret military, that only answer to Biden himself?
No.
None that you're aware of?
No,
okay.
No. The military structure, I think, is pretty well set. The Secretary of Defense is the the military. The President Biden, I call him Dr. Joe because he got an honorary degree, right? A PhD for being a critical analytical thinker. What a joke that was. He's a commander in chief. So he's a commander in chief of the armed forces. The armed forces report to the commander in chief through the Secretary of Defense. Then we also have the Joint Chiefs Staff, which is the generals. They're more like advisors or consultants. They don't have any direct say, or there's no direct line of authority with them in the military itself. They're just strictly consultants. So we've got in the Department of Defense, who is Lloyd Austin right now. He has 3 departments under him: Department of the Army, Department of the Navy, and Department of the Air Force. The Navy Department has the 2 equal branches, the Navy and the Marine Corps, and the Air Force has 2 co-equal branches, the Air Force and the new Space Force. And then the Army is the Army. So then they have secretaries and then the rank and file, the generals, and all the various military units all report up through them. So that there's no one that the secrets are all in the CIA and the NSA and the FBI. And that's another thing now. People don't know how this works either. The CIA has no intelligence authority, no authority whatsoever in any matters whatsoever in North America, in the Americas. They're strictly an overseas organization. When J. Edgar Hoover was the director of the FBI under Roosevelt, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. During World War II, they started the OSS, the Organization of Strategic Services. That was the forerunner of the FBI. I mean, the CIA. They were the guys who were supposed to do this, the CIA work and intelligence work and overseas. Hoover did not want anybody messing with the Americas, so he got it so the FBI is responsible for all intelligence work in North and South America. So if you were to go to an embassy, for example, in Buenos Aires, Argentina, there's an ambassador there, and there's a FBI there, and there's FBI spies, so to say, agents there that are doing intelligence work there. If you go to an embassy, for example, in Paris, in the embassy, you have the ambassador, and then you have an FBI contingent, but you have the CIA in there as well. And the CIA is the ones who are doing the intelligence work in the country of France, for example. That's just kind of the way it's all evolved. But most people don't know how it works, and they don't want us to know how it works. They don't want us to know any of this stuff, because if we get to know too much, we're going to become dangerous to them, and we're going to figure out that the Constitution was meant to protect us from the government, not the government from us.
Right. Right. Understood. Sean, go ahead.
So you have Delta Force, correct? Okay.
Yeah.
Who aren't they like ran by like almost like the president or people higher than the chief joints of staff?
No.
And, no.
The special operators, which is what they call themselves in the military, but like the Delta Force and the Rangers, they're all Army units who report up to the chain of command of the Army, and they report to various Army commands. In the Navy, for example, the Department of the Navy, you have the Navy SEALs. They are actually part of the Navy, and they report up to the Navy command structure, up to the Secretary of the Navy. The Marine Corps has got a group that nobody knows about, that nobody even wants to even talk about. These are the real badasses, the MARSAC guys, Marine Special Operation Command. They report up through the Marine Corps structure. Command structure up to the commandant. So none of these special operators report directly to the president, or they're outside of the chain of command. They're all within the chain of command. The Air Force also has a special operations group that they have, and they report up to the chain of command of the Air Force.
Well, no, I'm sorry, Sean. I thought you were done. I just wanted to say this. The reason I wanted to bring that up is because we keep hearing, so much about the QAnon and the Q, and I keep telling people our military branches don't work like this, and you need to open your eyes, because it's always about something's going to be saved. It's going to happen tomorrow. The day never comes, and I keep saying this is that psychological warfare and technology trapping people to keep you complacent, to keep you in a place where they can control you, allowing you to think something was going to happen, something magnificent's going to occur. They're going to bring Trump back, put him in office. He's going to regain his presidency. Everybody's going to go to Gitmo. That whole theory that's out there. And I tell them, you are being road-washed by deliberation of deliberate. There's a word for it. I'm getting it wrong, but it's all deliberate, and it's a conspiracy against yourself and your own mind's thought. But yet every day I'll see things still being posted where the Savior's going to come, the day's going to come. Sean, I apologize. Please go ahead.
Oh, it is. I was just going to do our little commercial.
It's a commercial break. We're going to take a short commercial break. We'll be right back.
I want to thank Carnation for sponsoring the second hour of Chasing Prophecy. Thank you, Carnation. Bill, so you and Michael were talking about the redact things,
Yeah.
Is there a law out there to where that this person says, no, you cannot redact this? You have to show the whole thing?
There's none that I've ever heard of. That's all part of this, having people like Christopher Wray, or before that Comey, who was even worse, the directors of these agencies, because they pretty much have the power to do anything they want to do. And the only ones that can really oversee them is Congress. And if they, if they don't want to obey these subpoenas of the Congress, you see what happens. They can get away with it. They can use a big black marker and redact any darn thing they want to redact, and there's nothing anybody can do about it. Now the Congress could do something about it if they would say, okay, we're not going to fund your agency anymore. But they're not going to do that because here again, I think that they had no balls.
Yeah, you're right. They just don't. They just don't shut off and use all the powers that they could use against some of these villains, and they see clearly what's going on in America. They talk about it. There was even a comment the other day where a couple of our better constituents in Washington say we know America's disappointed, but we don't see enough of anything getting done. The power and infiltration that has occurred in our country, the pre-planning, the premeditation of everything that has happened has put us in a place where it comes back to why we don't have a constitution is because they have always planned to take it from us and they set us up for it. And now it's occurring. And we're fighting tooth and nail to try to say, we want our country, we want to save it. Is there a clarity as to how it can happen? I don't think there is, because I think we've already covered some of this. We're disappointed in it. Documents can do one thing, people can do another. But clearly, it'll always be Russia, 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 China, 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 paid for the dossier. And whatever Hillary burns, throws away, decides to crush is perfectly fine. And if you keep bothering me, I'll take more than half of Washington down with me. And by making comments like that, people are in fear. Also, some of our constituents and leadership that are in places up there are being threatened right now, as well as we have a whistleblower missing. So any whistleblower protections, whether it's within ufology, UFOs, or it's in Washington and what Hunter's son did, or Anthony Weiner's laptop, or Nancy Pelosi's laptop, we're at a stalemate. We're at like a checkmate. It's almost like they're going to hold us at bay as long as they can. But here's my biggest fear, Bill. What's going to happen when these people refuse to leave Washington if Trump would win? Because of the power of who they are, because of what they can do, what they have on people, the corruption that has occurred, the money launderings, the bribes, the acceptances from all these people within all these corrupt organizations, whether it's a 3-letter, 4-letter, 5-letter agency, it doesn't matter. What happens in 2024 if Trump was to win and they refuse to walk out of Washington? They're not just going to put their hands out and say, okay, Donald, you won. You have the right to arrest us all for crimes on humanity. You get where I'm coming from?
You nailed it. Mike, you're exactly right. See, what happens is in these agencies, for example, let's talk about the CIA, for example.
Okay.
The CIA reports to the national security advisor, I think is what his name is now. His title is now. So they've got a director of the CIA, and they've got assistant directors and deputy directors and so forth. These are all appointed. They're not elected. So they're bureaucrats. So the only way they can be removed from office is they either retire, they resign, or they get terminated. And that's where Trump made his big mistake. Was he didn't terminate all these guys because they weren't going to leave on their own. Man, they got some great jobs.
Yeah. You're absolutely right. I would agree with you there. He had moments where he could have did things. I don't know if the pressures were bigger than we ever knew about things going on in the White House as he was trying to build back America better. And he was a success for a run corporation as they see it. But by letting a lot of the things go that did go, and in ways entrapped him. And I think that's even now, still why now he's having the difficulties that he is. Of course, that's part of it, without that. But I mean, I think he missed that moment. And it's not that I want to say he wasn't strong enough, smart enough. I don't know what his logic was unless it was all about entrapment and future indictments. One can only speculate that.
I think what he did, and historians may prove me wrong, but I think that he ended up getting a few people that he thought he could trust and so forth, and he put them in power, and they were all part of the political establishment. So, for example, in the White House staff, there's like 235 or 250 or so many people that work in the White House. They had all been there for 8 years under Obama. These were Obama people. I mean, these are people who adored Obama. They would go through the wall for Obama. And so when you come in as the new president, can you get rid of every one of them and bring in all brand new people? And if you do, some of them are going to be Obama people too. So he ended up with all these Obama people in the White House. And so you think, well, they're not really decision makers, and they're not, what can they possibly do? But they can sabotage everything. They can leak everything. They can slow walk everything. They just made his presidency, almost difficult to handle. In the meantime, he's trying to get things done with, with Korea, who's trying to develop nuclear weapons. We got problems with Iran. We still got holdovers from people. Our troops in Syria. And then he's trying to figure out, the taxes, and we got problems with the VA. And so he was relying on his people to take care of all these issues with people below him. And so he gets somebody like Jeff Sessions to be the Attorney General. And he didn't do anything to clean out there, and he inherits Comey, and he leaves Comey in there. And Comey, the FBI director is supposed to have 10 years, but they can be terminated. He should have terminated him. He didn't do it. And so what did Comey do? Comey went after Michael Flynn and sabotaged him. And so they started this Russia thing, Russia hoax. And so, Trump, I mean, it was like he was getting bombarded by everybody, and I think he tried to rely on the people he had in there, and so he got people like Michael Bolton as the UN ambassador. Turned out to be a disaster because Bolton, boy, he's a tough war hawk conservative, but shit, all he wanted to do was go to war, and Trump didn't. Yeah. Trump wanted to get us to a point where, hey, we shouldn't be fighting these wars in the Mideast. I mean, and hey, I'm a Marine officer, and I'm wondering, what in the hell were we doing in Iraq and Afghanistan for 20 years? I mean, other than just making more Gold Star moms and bringing back guys with missing limbs and everything, what did we accomplish from all that? That was so stupid, because we thought we had to go after Osama bin Laden. And I'm still trying to figure out how Building 7 collapsed all on its own at 5 o'clock in the afternoon.
Yeah. I think we all are. Sean, go ahead. No, you hit the nail on the head there. And if you go into some of the old scriptures, you'll see where 911 matches up to certain things that occurred. And I don't think it was about weapons of mass destruction. I think they were just looking for war. But of a different kind and technology. These people are fascinated with riches, ancient biblical things and content, and they collect them. They don't tell you about them. When I tell you the richest people in the world are this, that, and the other, I mentioned this to Sean the other day. They don't tell you about the truly wealthiest people in the world who actually own cities. Like, I think Rothschild is one of them. I think it's named after one of the family members to the Rothschilds, where there's a city and it's called the center of the world out in Arizona. So these people, where do they get their money from, and how come that never makes news? They're trillionaires, but yet we talk about the richest men in the world being billionaires. They really don't ever divulge who the elites are in this world. This less than by much than 1%, the top 7, and possibly within that top 7 would be a couple very, very well-to-do banking systems, as well as possibly Vanguard, BlackRock, one of the biggest, one of the biggest who will basically, what aren't they into? I'll just say that.
Okay.
What aren't they into? And then what happened to the cryptocurrency? What happened to that kid? I mean, anytime something big goes our way, so we find out more truth. The deep dive narrative of the deep state, the criminality of these implants from all over the world get together and figure out a way on how to change the narrative and how to worm their way back out to the surface with a smile on their face. Somehow it's always forgotten.
Yeah, because there's always some new crisis gets manufactured. Some trans girl goes into Nashville and shoots up kids in a Christian school, or somebody does something. Somebody kills his girlfriend out in Utah, and so we spend 2 months trying to find out what happened to her. While in the meantime, the whole world's going to crap, and China's taking over everything, and we ain't paying any attention to it. But you brought up something about the money. This is my theory, and I don't think I'm alone on this.
Are you talking about FTX?
FTX, yeah, that was that guy, yeah. We'll just forget about him,
Where you go?
Yeah, hey, he gave the Democrat Party, $40 million in donations and so forth. We can't do anything to him.
Anyway, what about Zuckerberg? He violated every public election law with his contribution.
Yeah, but he's
20 times the amount allowable by law.
He's a big donor to the Democrat Party, and unfortunately, the Marxists have taken over, our government, and so they're embedded in all these agencies and departments. We have more than 2,100 of them, and so guys like Zuckerberg, and the FTX guy, I can't think of his name right now. I did remember the guy from Utah, though, Mitt Romney. He's not my guy. Hey, anyway, think about this. If we can get a couple of conflicts going on in Iraq and Afghanistan, for example, and we're making all this equipment, tanks and trucks and Humvees and missiles and weapons and ammunition and everything. Man, the military-industrial complex is just flourishing, and so they've got a lot of money coming in, and they can pay the lobbyists who can donate a lot of money to all these congressmen, senators, and so forth to keep the money flow going. But now who's going to pay for it? Oh, that's easy. The banking industrial complex. And I'm not talking about our local banks or whatever. I'm talking about the big investment banks like Chase Morgan and so forth. Rothschilds that you mentioned before. They're financing this, and they don't care who wins. They finance both sides.
Both sides. Yeah.
I heard that. I heard they did that.
Yeah, I mean, we know that Bush's own family did that, and there was things that occurred in history that people can look into on that to see just how that worked out. But I think his name was Prescott, wasn't it? Prescott Bush?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you have that, but and now I mean, how many people in one family need to work for government? Because everything about family is the placement of who these people are. Sean, I don't want to overtalk. Please, if you have any questions.
No, I'm listening. I'm good.
Boy, no, Mike, you're nailing it. Yeah, you're bringing up all the good stuff.
I'm
Yeah.
learning
I mean,
something here.
it's the focus point of it all. And how much do they pay for hammers? $300 a hammer. The actual cost of a hammer, even military's grade hammer, might be like $13 a piece. What happens to the other $197?
Actually,
It's beating all these deep state criminalization programs that we have going on, where they decide what they will do with the remainder of the funds that we never know about. It just looks like we bought 13 million hammers for so much money when we know, in fact, it's a lie. And that's how the cover up works within the complex. And in Washington as well, everybody gains somehow, some way.
and you start compounding that with all the various things they buy, because and this is another thing. I learned this in the military, and I see it now. Is writing government contracts that's really a science. To know how to write a government contract, not many people know how to do that. But these large companies, like Boeing and Grumman and Raytheon and so forth, they've got skilled experts on how to do this stuff, and they write these contracts, and they've got everybody paid off, so they know who the lowest bidder is going to be. And in many cases, the contracts don't even go to the lowest bidder. Sometimes there is no lowest bidder. There's just a contract that goes out. But they tell us one thing, and how do we find out? How do we know what's true and what's not true? What do? We watch the news. The only thing that we know about the news is everything they tell us is false.
Yeah.
Everything the government tells us is false. Who can we trust? And we don't know. We don't have any way to fact check them. We don't have any way to know what's really happening. They say, well, we got fact checkers. Well, fact checkers, I've checked on some of the things the fact checkers have checked on, and I'm thinking, man, they are dead wrong, 180 degrees wrong on stuff, and they're doing it purposely because they don't want us to find out what's going on. And so, anyway, we've got to just figure out how can we get to a point where this whole woke business, this whole pedophilia business, this whole government overreach business finally comes crashing. And I think eventually it's going to. I just hope that our country doesn't crash before it does.
I would agree with that. What are your thoughts on that, Sean?
I kind of like that. I really would like to see I would like to see Donald Trump get in as president. I'm being honest with you, because I know for a fact that he has the gonads to. I mean, the first 4 years he made a lot of mistakes, but I think the second 4 years, that if he does get elected, he'll know what to do on that same time. And I just get disgusting just looking and reading the news. The media really gets on my nerves because that David Muir, on ABC during the week, I mean, the day they found out that Trump was going to get indicted tomorrow or today, that's all they talked about for a whole hour and a half. But they never mentioned anything about the shit that Joe Biden was going through. Do you know what I mean? So I don't know. This is a real nice history lesson for me tonight. I appreciate this. Thank you.
It's a pay for play experience on everything that goes on with these people. Even that Bragg's guy. It was all about the 1023 forms the same day when Bragg's started to go after Trump. So it's a tit for a tat. The more you come at us, the more we'll come at you. They're in control. That's my biggest fear. Depending upon how we react to them, how we respond to them with respect or non-respect, and everybody has their right to feel the way they want to feel. If you want to disrespect them, everybody has that privilege to do so. They'll find you on social media, though. They are right now actually watching us closer than they ever had, and they've made an announcement that they're doing it because, again, we're criminal terrorists to their democracy. We're not the fabric of who they are. And what you have brought up, Bill, and have done a wonderful job on this evening, bringing it up, covering so many different things and topics. And I know we didn't cover them all, and it's too hard. There's too many. When you go back to 3 years that have passed and you tally up everything that has happened, it would probably take someone 8 hours to read through every aspect of narrative that they have created in some way to create turmoil in people's lives. What I don't understand is how more people aren't standing up for their country, being the true American that we grew up thinking that we were, that we were taught at that point still, at least at my age. I'm the young guy here, but I'm just saying, we were taught different. People seem to have a narrative that they want to hate America. That's where we are. And that's what we're fighting against. And it seems like that's where the build the vote works for the Democratic Party. Bringing the border crossers over, whatever you want to call them, the dreamers, that's part of a voting initiative narrative in my mind. If you give people what they want because you're going to help support them, you're going to create another entirety of a voting platform. So let's support the LGBTQ, whatever they're called. Let's support Black Lives Matter, who gave nothing back to the Black people or to the cause of the importance of it, except for the destruction of America with the Antifa. We have our own terrorists in America, and it's within our own leadership of America and the government who said to people, were like Maxine Waters, who came out and said, destroy America, pulled the statues down, and they did nothing to her for it. No criminal charges. We won't even really slap her hand. We'll just clear your throat and walk away there. But the point, in fact, is Pelosi did it. She did it. And they invoked problems in our own America. And yet we have no actions of recourse, legal recourse back against these people. And the only thing we can hope for, I guess, in the future is that there is a 2024 where we go to vote. We stand there all day long. We show the support to Donald J. Trump and vote for him and stay there the entirety of the whole day watching everything. Because I don't know if there's a cut and dry system to anything that's happened, even with Mike the Pillow Man put out about Dominion and the lawsuits and everything that happened there. And then we can go into, all the different states that had their problems and deceptions and drop off mailboxes where we've seen box loads and finding ballads in creeks and rivers, as Trump said just recently. How do you go into 2024, even if you have the power of the vote and win the election? That's my biggest fear, because right now we have people who hate America. They just hate America. They hate the country they live in, as if the country's responsible for something that was done wrong to them, and we're not all responsible for it.
Yeah. I have the same fears. I think that there's probably about half of us of the 300 and some odd million people who live in this country. It's probably somewhere between 320 and 340 million people. About half of us feel the same way we do. But what we're hearing from this majority, this very small minority that seems to whip up the leftists so much. Like, for example, did you see that the young lady from City University of New York, CUNY, gave the commencement address at her school when she graduated, and she talked about how bad things were in America, how oppressed they were, and everything like that. And I mean, and she's a Muslim. She's wearing this Muslim garb, and she's as free as can be. She wouldn't have those same rights in Saudi Arabia. Anyway, there's something else we haven't talked about, and our country is under full-scale invasion right now on our southern border.
Mm-hmm.
They can bullshit us any way they want and call them undocumented workers or illegal, or whatever they are. They're invaders. They're invading our country. These are people who carry their own flags, come across they wade across the river to get to our country. That's the way you come into a country to become a citizen. You do it by wading across the river at night, or whatever. And the drugs that they're bringing into our country, destroying our country. We're losing 100,000 to overdoses a year.
Yeah.
And we don't know what else they're bringing in. But I everything I've read and people I've talked to are convinced that the cartels are running Mexico and the cartels are at war against us. We're just not recognizing we're at war against them because we don't recognize, our government doesn't recognize that we've got a crisis at the border like you and I, the three of us recognize it, and probably all of the listeners also recognize that it's an invasion. So they're bringing in young children as slaves, child slavery, slave traders. They're everything you can think of. There's nothing good coming of this. These cartels are making billions of dollars, and they're not doing this to make America great again or to restore American exceptionalism. They're doing this to ruin our country because it's the way they can make money. And so this is really an invasion. We've got to stop it. And Trump, tried to stop it, and you saw the resistance that he got at that. Well, yeah. The more they resisted Trump, the more I thought Trump's got to be right if they're resisting that much against him. And, for example, Trump right now, as bad as they want to get rid of him, I'm starting to think, boy, if you want to get rid of him that bad, I think maybe I want him that bad. Because why are you trying to get rid of this guy?
Well, yeah, that's that cognitive dissonance that is occurring all over where, it's hard for people to accept the truth because the narrative might not be in correct order. So, of course, the lie's easier to believe because it's an easier product of manipulation. And that people get stuck in that sequence of information that they put out there. That's what the bobbleheads are for every morning, trying to keep everything of facts and orders and lies coming across in an orderly fashion according to what Washington tells them to do. It's the whole point of everything. When you own the media, you basically own the manipulation system because most people still weigh the information upon what they feel is a good source from their city news. I know it's corrupt on every level, from the lowest points of the cities and boroughs all the way up to the biggest news platforms on the planet. They're all full of it. They all say the same thing. They all talk the same game, and they all repeat the same words.
Yep.
If people don't catch that it's not been narrated and handed to them to say these things, shame on them. But again, that doesn't save our country. We're stuck in a system of, you're being robbed from cradle to grave in an order of slavery, of taxation, and more. But nothing makes people think in the order that they need to think when things like this are going on. We still have people rejecting the thought that there's anything wrong in the world. They just feel we're going through a little bit of something and it's all going to get worked out. How many times does this guy have to fall and hit his head for you to realize he didn't fix it before? He can't fix it after he hits his head. That's the point. It's not going to be a correction. It's intentional an intentional act to bring down the country. And that's exactly where they're headed. Our economy, chicken, no eggs, vaccinate all men, all women, vaccinate all meat products, destroy the air, destroy the water, contaminate this, contaminate that, until they get hit in their own face. Maybe then they'll wake up. But a lot of families have. A lot of families couldn't be with their families while they died. I mean, a lot has happened in America. When you look at what we went through in the last 3 years, I don't know how to wake up people any more than I've tried. And I have tried. Bill, I know you've tried. You've been on a lot of shows. I know, Sean, that you've done things, for 4 years on Chasing Prophecy that have reflected into these points and moments, as well as other conspiracy theories and whatnot. Great job. But the point is there a fix? I mean, because it comes down to an election. Can we trust the minion? Can we trust paper? Nobody wants to switch to any one thing that would work best for the system. Everybody wants what will work for Washington right now, the leftists.
Yeah.
Very good.
I think that, like I said, I think about half of us want this, but we're the half that are probably working. And are you guys familiar with Pink Floyd?
Yep.
Sure.
Okay. Remember in 1979, Pink Floyd came out with this album called Another Brick in the Wall and everything. And I thought, boy, this is crazy. But boy, we're starting to become another brick in the wall. But the song that they wrote, I guess it was Roger Waters wrote, that it was so true today, was when he said the words, and he meant it about something completely different than the context I'm using in, but he said, and we have become comfortably numb.
Yeah.
Oh, yes.
And that's us. You know, we've gotten to the point where we're just comfortably numb. You know, we go along, and as long as, you know, we get our paycheck and you know, we can have our barbecue and our beer and go for a boat ride or a bike ride or whatever we like to do, we're good. And, you know, we're just not in tune with this black Marxism that some people have, you know, just are so passionate about. This Black Lives Matter, that's all about black Marxism.
Yeah.
They never had any intentions of helping any black people. Their whole thing was just to promote their own ideology. And let's face it, that's really that's the direction we're heading in. Look what they're doing in our schools. They want to teach critical race theory in our schools and say that our founding fathers were all racist and everybody. If you're a person of color, you've been oppressed all your life and you're a victim, and you have no chance for any advancement or opportunity. I mean, you know, that's crazy. That's bizarre. But that's all part of what they're doing, because it's a way of being able to control the masses. And that's what Marxism was all about, was taking resources from one person and giving it to another, taking resources from a group of people and giving it to another group of people.
Right.
Black Marxism, what they're trying to do is take it away from those of us that work for it and give it to those who don't work for it. Right now, we got about 50% of the people in America that are solely subsiding on Section 8 housing, welfare checks, SNAP, which is food stamps, and all kinds of other benefit programs. They don't pay any taxes, and they get a tax rebate of $8,000-9,000. You know, and I'm paying all this. I'm 88, and I'm paying all this money in taxes. I'm thinking, shit, I don't even make any money. You know?
But you're absolutely correct. And again, that's how I think they're valuing the vote, because if they can guarantee these people, and even if it comes in waves, like right now, they're going to be putting money towards SNAP again. They want to give people more money for food. They're not going to give it to you or I, but they're going to give it to the certain ones, because there's an identification label as to who and how will get it. I mean, we're still fighting for people to get, and for somebody to do something about all the pandemic fraud of billions and billions of dollars throughout the United States. I mean, we're talking tens of billions of dollars of pandemic fraud, unemployment insurance that was never even put through for people under Trump. They just avoided people. They didn't do the work. And the local legislation and senators and people in place didn't do the jobs to pick up the phone to correct the whole system. They would say, let's just get them a check if we can do it. And they tried to do that. And in some cases that worked. But in all the cases and all the entitlements, people were walked over. They never still got them. Nobody's calling anybody to say, did you ever get it? Does anybody in these offices who are being paid to look out for the American citizens who never got it, and now they're saying they have leftover money never used? They have leftover money used because they never gave it to the people that were entitled to it.
Yeah.
These people are shameless fools, and they should not be serving in any public office as a public servant to the American people. But it's not just that. It's other things of other crises just as big all over the board. Sean, I'm going to let you go with that in case I put some type of idea into your head or a question.
No, you're doing pretty good. I'm just in awe.
Well, I mean, aw's big, and I'm glad that you're in awe because that's telling me that, you're being receptive. Let's hope that people around the world that are listening to us, if there is that true 864,000 people audience, that you're getting this into your heads, that we wish you well in your country. We know you're suffering with us. We want to make America great again because it will probably help your countries do better as well. Again, we are Chasing Prophecy. With us tonight is Bill Mucker, Sean Kay, the host, and me, Michael Anthony. And it's been a joy all evening so far.
Yes.
We're going to be with you for a little bit longer. You sure you got no questions, Sean?
Not a question, but I have a comment. All right. I would just like to see all these, excuse my language, assholes that are in DC now that are causing a lot of problems for all of us, that they end up going to Gitmo and they get hung. That's how I feel.
All right, let's go to Bill on that. Bill, in your knowledge and research and education within the military, we know that Gitmo was a place for crimes on humanity once upon a time. Do you foresee this system to continue being in place, working for humanity? Speaking of crimes, crimes on humanity, so forth, and Gitmo.
Yeah. I just think that they're so far embedded with each other right now, and they're all covering for each other, that I don't think anything's ever going to come of it. And when I talked about having a small limited government that was close to home, we've got a UN. I wrote a chapter on the UN, and that is really the most corrupt organization going. In fact, in my chapter on the UN, I wrote we should get the UN out of the US and the US out of the UN, because eventually this whole one world order thing is to have one government, probably in The Hague, maybe it'll be in New York City, somewhere, that's going to rule over the entire planet. And they're not going to go after any of the people that have been promoting this for them and doing all their dirty work all these years. They're the heroes now, and so I just don't see how any of this is going to happen. When you get to Gitmo originally was like a naval penal colony or whatever, a naval base. And I remember Marines were there, and I knew a couple of guys. They said, boy, just hope you don't get orders to go to Gitmo. That's a horrible place to be. And this was like in the 50s and 60s. Anyway, what they did is they kind of rebuilt and transformed Gitmo from a military brig to kind of like a place to house terrorists and violent criminals and so forth like that. So, but I just don't see, somebody like Comey. This is a guy that Sean's talking about that ought to be in Gitmo or ought to be hung. And look what he's doing. He's out on a book tour. And who's going to do anything about him? It's sad.
It is. And the narrative's so big. I keep trying to say to everybody in America, maybe we need to call our leadership on the right and Washington and say, guys, look, there's hundreds of thousands of us willing to participate, help, and volunteer to help you get through this and exercise proper legal recourses back against the ones that are embedded into this deep state, criminalizing the United States and bringing it down. It's not by one person. It's not really 100. Yes, it may be 100 people of wealth and rich, but you have to understand we have, as you said, become comfortably numb. And that's a fact. We've learned through conditioning of walking in the footsteps and footprints that they have put in front of us. And that's what we're doing. That's what has happened. That's what is done. I mean, it's factual. Soon, if they decide that we no longer need grocery stores, you'll have to order by phone. You won't leave your house. 15-minute cities. They don't even come with parking garages or parking spaces, but you can rent a car if you live within it, and you can drive up to 200 miles if you're a good boy or girl. They're taking the communities of America and changing them for what they say is a global catastrophe to come, which I think is just a narrative of bullshit. And I felt terrible for what people are going through, because when you look up, you don't even see the sun no more. Cows fart too much, chicken lay too many eggs. I mean, there's nothing that anybody can get anything right. But it all goes back right now to it's a climate problem. It's a climate issue. I see flooding. I see fires. I see the earth coming apart in ways it never did before. But I also know that John F. Kennedy said we will figure out weather prediction and modifications. So we know that these plans were in place. We know cloud seeding was being done. We know that ski resorts make snow. We know that they have other narratives of measures of known and unknown things that they can deliver to humanity. They are doing it, and it's causing a global effect on Mother Earth. They won't go out into the middle of the ocean and clean up a city as big as Long Island of plastic, but yet they'll keep tormenting the weather systems of the world, because, again, it works under their agenda. Money can be spent. People can put money in their pocket, and there's a system that's working. The same as you said with the military, missiles, planes, ships. I mean, they're junking our naval destroyers, junking some of them, not all of them, but they are doing it, saying we need a new system. We need a new fleet. You don't empty a fleet to create a fleet, especially if they're not going to be prepared in time for anything to help America. So you're leaving places blank, and that's what's going on. All those billions of dollars in equipment left behind, and 13 laid bodies come to rest in America, and Joe looks at his clock as if he's too goddamn busy. I'm sorry, he's not my president.
Yeah.
Well said. Well said. Yeah, you hit a lot of good points there.
Yes, he did. Hey, Bill, I want to thank you for your service.
Oh,
yeah, me too, Bill.
You're
and
welcome.
your continuation of service for everybody now.
Yes, and I was in the Navy, and I come to find out a couple of days ago that the Marines are the Navy's infantry.
And thank you for your service, Sean. There's all these jokes that go back and forth about between the Marines and the Navy, and then and the Navy guys will say, well, the Marine Corps is the Department of the Navy, and we say, yeah, the men's department, so this stuff goes on and on. But I always like to take a little bit more of a positive view on it. I always thank my Navy brothers and say, hey, yes, I love the Navy because you took us Marines on all expense paid cruises yes, to exotic places, and you paid for our food and our drink and our medical care. What's not to love? We love the Navy. I mean, hey, I got to go. I got to sail in and out of Pearl Harbor 7 different times, and one time we actually went to Vietnam. So what more could you want? My situation was, and I really have some. I have some guilt feelings about this that I'm having a hard time getting over with, but I was in the 1st Marine Brigade, and we went from Pearl to Vietnam in March of 1961. Now, as you know, we didn't really get Vietnam kind of cranked up until about 1965. But the 1st Marine Brigade went there. But the ship I was on the USS 16, the Cabildo, and LSD, and Sean knows what those are, landing ship docks. They're kind of small ships, carry a couple hundred Marines and equipment and everything. They decide to send us to Okinawa. So now here we are, we're based in Okinawa. Then they decide, yeah, these Marines look like they do well in Japan. So they sent us to Japan. Now, when we got to Vietnam, we never actually went ashore. We didn't step foot on soil. You know, we just stayed on the ship for about 3 days and went to Okinawa. So now we get back on a ship again. All of our equipment, we go to Yokohama. And our CO wanted to take all the officers someplace for some kind of I forget what it was, some kind of planning conference or something. So he made me the acting CO of the squadron because I was the guy who had all the top secret information and everything, and I was a senior air director. So we go to Yokohama, but we don't get off the ship there. We turn around, we sail all the way back to Long Beach, California. This was on an APA, by the way, the APA 33. So my Vietnam experience was I spent, I don't know how much time in the Pacific, either in Okinawa or on ships, but never in Vietnam. And I lost some guys, some good friends, Marines and members of other forces, armed forces I knew. Lost them in Vietnam. So I still feel kind of guilty about that. But as one of my good buddies said, he's a retired Marine lieutenant colonel, he said, Bill, you only go where the ship takes you. You have no choice. You know, just do what the orders say. And he said, you're really lucky you never was in Vietnam. He was there twice, and he said it was a horrible place to be. So
Thank you for sharing that. Michael, do you have any last words for Bill?
Love him, love him, love him, love him. Absolutely love him. Love his intelligence, love his story, love his books, his information, what he does for America. Everything that he's brought forth tonight, we've been blessed to have it from you.
Yes.
You're a straight shooter, and I have nothing but respect and, again, love for you. I wish you all the best. I hope you sell millions of books around the world to a lot of people. Please, everybody, check into our guest, Bill Mucker. He has 2 books, and they're wonderful, filled with information and things that most of us will never know in a lifetime, or most of what you'll forget. And that's why you need the books. It will be your dictionary into this man's world of why he's trying to help save America. Single-handedly, you might be able to do this with what you wrote if the right people get a hold of the book. So I thank you for all your work.
Yes.
Okay. You're welcome. Very kind words, and I appreciate so much. Let me leave you up all by saying in July 4th of 1776, our founding fathers declared independence from the rule of King George, and we still need to fight for our independence. And at that time, when they printed the Declaration of Independence in the papers, some of the editors wrote in the paper, "God save our America." And boy, we need God to save us now, don't we?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
Honest to God.
Every man, woman, and child.
Thank you, Bill, very much. Before you go, how can people get a hold of you and pick up one of your books?
Okay. I've got a web page. Amazon canceled me out, so I don't have they missed my ebooks. My ebooks are on Amazon, but my print books I have right here with me in my condo, and I run my own fulfillment center. So like the last few days, I've been sending books out to everybody. I got a web page. It's 2020americabook.com. Or Bill Mucker, and you can Google me or find me on Facebook. And if you get to my web page, you can order on the web page and pay for it just like you do if you went to Amazon or any place else.
Yeah, okay, thank you. And what I'll do later on is I'll post your website, and I will post, your Facebook page so people can get a hold of you. Again, Bill, thank you very much for
You're
being
welcome.
on tonight. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill.
Okay.
Okay.
So, good evening. I hope everybody enjoyed the show. We're coming up on the part with special part of Chasing Prophecy, which is Into the Night. So, give me 30 seconds, and then we'll be right back to start. I'm getting there. Okay, we're getting there. Hold on. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. 30 seconds. And that's funny. I can't find it. There we go. Hey, welcome back and welcome to Chasing Prophet, a special edition of Into the Night. How is everybody doing tonight? We had Bill Mucker on earlier, and it was a very good show. I learned a lot today, and I hope that you guys did too. If you have any questions or you need to find out any more information about Bill, feel free to send me a message at the Pittsburgh Paranormal Facebook page, and I'll be happy to get that information out to you. I did buy his 2 books, and it's funny. I really don't like to read. I learn more by visualization. Okay, and with that, I started reading. And what was really cool about his reading, his book that he wrote, is that the words are printed this big. So it made it kind of more easier for me to understand what was going on. But this is Into the Night, and I just want to start off like, how is life? How's life for you guys? Life is okay for me. There's, let me get to the comments. Okay. Brian's good to see you. Terry, small engine repair. Good to see you. River, thank you for sharing. But Into the Night is what I talk about on Into the Night, and is basically whatever's on my mind. We do get into some of the paranormal. Sometimes we get into Bigfoot. Sometimes we get into the whatever is on my mind for that night, to be honest with you. So I do have some news coming up, but hopefully I sent Jenny a invitation to come on the show tonight. So we'll just wait for her. So June is men's mental health awareness, and I will tell you this: mine's not too good up there. I've gone through so much stuff this past year, and it seems like whenever I get that point to the point where I'm doing okay, life throws a curveball, and somehow I gotta, and learn how to deal with the situation that occurs. So I know it's been a while since, I've had the show here, Into the Night, but it'll be back. It'll be back soon. And I'm looking forward to it. But to catch up on what's been happening to me, have what you call a goiter that is on my neck. It's around my thyroid. So I have to get that taken care of like at the end of September. And they found 2 spots on my lungs, so on June 21st, I have to go and get another, CT scan on it. And we'll see where it goes from there. So I just got back from vacation, went up to Gettysburg, and had a decent time up there. And while I was up there, I got to meet a lot of friends. I went up to see my friend Matt Barron up there in Danville, PA, and we had a good time. He took me around to the haunted places that they go to, his group, where they go investigating, and really, it was pretty interesting. And then I think I went to the best. I think it is the best buffet ever going. And it's out, I want to say Lancaster, but it's called the Maple Buffet. It's an Amish buffet. Oh my God, the food. Hey, Virgil, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Brian, are you still on? How you been, bud? So how's things in England, Virgil? Do you have any reports coming from England? How's the weather? Well, speaking of the weather, which is pretty cool. For like last 2-3 weeks, we've had a lot of a real hot spell. It was always hot, no rain, and but the last couple of days we've had rain, and it's been awful cool. So instead of having the air conditioner on or the fan on, it's sleeping weather's pretty good. Oh, okay. Virgil Kane says that Manchester City won the European Cup. Congratulations. I bet Manchester's going crazy tonight, huh? I'm sure they are. But what time is it over there? It's about, 2 in the morning? Okay. So congratulations again, Virgil. So with the weather, I started something new this year, and it's crazy. In fact, I'm going to take some pictures whenever I get the opportunity to. But I started a garden. Yes, I planted potatoes, onion, garlic. Ah, there she is. There she is. Hello, Miss Nicasio. How are you? Jenny, good to see you.
I hate this stupid thing. This is probably why I'm not going to do this. There's such
Okay.
I don't know why the internet connection is so bad down here, but you can see me a little
Everybody,
bit.
yeah. Everybody, this is Jenny. And Jenny, this is everybody that's on the show.
Yeah, I've been it's time for we have some news. Did you tell everybody?
No, I waited for you to come on, bud.
Well, one of the reasons probably is because I can never have a good connection where I'm at. So this is the last show for Chasing Prophecy. I've decided it is time to end it now. We've been through a lot of changes, and it seems like it's the time. So we had a good almost 4 years,
Mm-hmm. Yes, we
and
did.
it's time
I
to
think it was like almost 5, wasn't it?
I can't remember. Well, it's about 4 years.
4 years now?
Yeah. And it's just time to say goodbye. We might come back in the future. I don't know, but we had a long haul, so I'm gonna spend more time with my grandchildren and write some books. I've been writing. I'm starting to get the urge to paint again, so it's time.
Okay.
I might do some things on my own without, having anybody to tell me what to do, how to format, what I can't do, what I can do. Um,
Mm-hmm.
I don't like being told what to do all the time.
Right.
And so that's one of the reasons it's time to go.
I like your hair.
My
I
hair.
never see you with her
This is pole hair.
pole hair. Oh, okay.
Mhm.
I usually see you with a hat on.
Yeah, well, I still have all my hats, but I'll put them up somewhere else, maybe Halloween stuff. But it's been a real fun time. So
Yes, it has.
I just wanted to come on and say, it's time to go. And Michael helped
We
out a lot. John
Yes,
Ventry
he
helped
did.
out.
Hmm.
But it's time. So what are you
So
going to do?
that is good. I tell you what, ladies and gents, if it wasn't for her sending me a message saying, "Jill, I want to do a podcast," um, I said, "Yeah." I didn't and know or even imagine it being here 4 years later. And Jenny, I've learned so much from you. I've learned so much from John. I've learned so much from Michael and all our guests that we did have on. And it really like kind of opened my eyes to a whole new world out there. And
Hmm.
I cannot thank you as much as I want to because I'm just like totally grateful for you, you know? And you opened me up to aliens and you opened me up to UFOs and dogmen and Bigfoot and, the crap that's going on in the government.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I really, really, truly appreciate it. Plus, we also got a very, very good friendship out of it too, you know?
Yeah. Well, it got us through the pandemic, and that was good. So,
Hmm.
um, what do you plan on doing?
What do I plan on
Are you
doing?
going to
Well,
still do Into the Night?
sure am. I am going in doing my show into the night from 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. on
Oh,
Tuesday nights.
it's a long
Yeah.
time.
Oh gosh, I've been doing 3 hours. you know.
Yeah.
But I don't. For me, I'm not ready to give it up. And once when I set my mind on something, it's like I'm in there full force. I
Hmm.
do work a lot, and it's real hard for me to come up with some subjects or do any research of any type. But all I know is that I still want to do it, and we'll see
Well,
where
you
it goes
do it.
from there.
You have to do what you have to do. I mean, I might do something on my own, somewhere else. I might take Chasing Prophecy someplace else. I haven't decided yet.
Okay.
Um, but I mean, I'm like I said, I'm doing mostly writing and my artwork and taking care of my, not taking care, enjoying my grandchildren. I have
Um,
two and one on the way, another one. So,
oh my gosh, when's that one go? When's that one?
October.
October. Oh, Halloween baby.
Yeah,
Oh, that'd
yeah.
be right up your alley, huh?
Yeah, it's time for me to get out of the paranormal. I mean, I'm more conspiracies like Michael.
Hmm.
I think there's more. What's not really conspiracies. It's just what really is what happening. There's chemtrails and there's like the
Yep.
new world order and making us do all kind of things that we don't want to do. The government
Hmm.
telling us what to do, telling us who to vote for, what to believe in, and it's gotten to the point where what I'm sick of it. I'm sick
Right.
about the media. I'm just sick of everything. The only thing I don't care. Some of the people listening. I mean, I listen to people that are banned from Apple or from Google, like Alex
Hmm.
Jones, and I listen to Michael Savage. I listen to Wendy Bell. I listen to because they know they're truth seekers. They know what's happening and they know what's going on in the world. And all these other people who are afraid to open their mouth or we can't say something. You can't smoke on the air. You can't wear a political shirt. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm wearing Trump's shirt because he's going to be our president because what they're doing to him is not fair. I don't care if you people don't like it. Oh, I don't want to
Oh.
listen to you because this isn't paranormal stuff. Yeah, it is paranormal. It's
Hmm.
not normal. And that's one
Right.
of the reasons why I'm quitting this because I can't tell you what I want to talk about because I might get slapped by somebody in management. So that's not going to happen anymore. So I'm out of here. So I got mad again. See, Sean?
Um, well, Virgil has a couple things to tell you. He goes, "Boy, she is cute." Uh,
Well, thank
Virgil's
you, Virgil.
Virgil's from our friend from Manchester, England.
Oh, I'm gonna
He
find me
said
a
the
Manchester, England man. Maybe I'll have go on a radio show over there,
there you go.
talk crumpets and scones.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and tea.
I
Got
mean,
to do the tea.
yeah, I just feel that it's I don't know. I don't even know what to talk. I don't even know what to say. But we're in the direction we're going into in the world is not very good in
Right.
America. Like your guest was talking, we're going into the transgender stuff. I mean, on TikTok, that's all they have is transgender this. They're trying to um, convert our children, recruit them, change them. I mean, even in the new movie that's coming out with Jim Caviezel, Sounds of Freedom, that's coming out July 4th. I mean, they're these child, human trafficking children using the hormone for the adrenaline because of fear. It's supposed to make them powerful, just like in that stupid movie Doctor Sleep. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's just, and I don't want to talk about ghosts because I had so many ghosts in my life. Okay. I mean, I've lost so many, and life is for the living. And talking
Right.
paranormal, ghosts, and stuff. Okay, what about the 10 feet giant aliens? I mean, it's probably Blue Beam. It's probably the government trying to set us
Oh,
up for something. It's
I'm
ridiculous, and
right there with you on that.
it's like, and I just there's too much drama and too much. Even when Fox News firing Tucker Carlson. I
Yeah,
mean,
that
I
was.
gave up my cable because I don't want to watch Fox News anymore because I just feel like we can't talk about, we can't talk this, you can't do this, and on the radio, and I don't know, but that's where I'm at.
Virgil Kane says, I agree, Jen. David Icke, ICKE, was banned from social platforms. I
Yeah,
guess whoever,
I mean, you
you know.
can't say anything. I mean, you know how much stuff that I had on YouTube and Facebook that was taken off and Twitter before Elon took it over. So much stuff.
Hmm.
And you can't speak about the vaccinations. Anybody who gets a vaccination is not, you should think about what you're doing to your body.
Hmm.
Any government telling you what to put in your body for the sake of a job or something, and then telling you can't talk about it on YouTube or they'll cut you out or you'll get, oh, you can't do that. That's bull. So, I'm just done. I'm done with it
Hmm.
all. If I want to talk on Facebook about it, go ahead and, kick me off. I mean, there's just so many things I would like to say that I can't say, and I'm sick of it telling me what kind of shirt to wear to a radio station. If I want to wear a Trump shirt, you can't see it because my internet is
Yeah.
so screwed up here, but
Farmer Green jeans. Farmer Green
I'm
jeans.
wearing
You
Trump. You
got
can't
one of
see
them.
it though. I'm wearing a Trump shirt. Not that I didn't want to vote for Trump, but after what they did to him just recently, I'm going to vote for him.
Mhm.
And
Virgil says, "Don't leave, hun. You are great. We
I
love you
am.
over in
It's
Manchester, England."
I might come on and do something else, but not on UPRN right now. I couldn't even get a link to come on to the show. I mean, I must have did it like 15 times to get so I could
Huh?
get onto the show to do the opening
That's,
and everything.
oh, really? That's all that problem's going on down there, huh?
No, just to get on the show from the manager to get me on the show. I couldn't even get on.
Oh, I
So
didn't know that. I
yeah,
did
I've
not
I've
know that.
asked for a link to get on to StreamYards 100 times. No one ever let me on. So,
Hmm.
but Tracing Prophecy will be coming back somewhere, somehow, someday, maybe. Um, but whatever. But I'm going to go ahead and get off because I don't want to say anything else I'll regret. But it was really
Okay.
great, all you people, for listening to us and coming on every week and hanging out with Sean and Michael and John. Even Jason in the past, we had a good
Yeah.
run with Jason, and you know, that's when the show was good back then before all the drama. So, um,
Yeah.
you know,
God bless you, hon. Thank
it
you again.
yeah, so no more drama. So have fun, enjoy your
Hmm.
show, and guys, make sure whatever you do, vote. If if from the United States, and vote for your own elections wherever you're at. Vote because it depends on our votes. Sometimes
Hmm.
they don't happen the way we want to, but you know,
Hmm.
peace out. Keep looking
Peace
up at the
out.
sky. Peace looking up at the sky. And remember, we were always right. Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Sean, you take it easy. Again, thanks,
Zen, you
guys, for
too.
watching. Bye-bye.
Bye, Jen. Well, there, you know, she let it go. That was the last show for Chasing Prophecy tonight. And I mean, you can only do so much for a certain amount of time, and then you just need to move on. You know, I started off with Chasing Prophecy. Oh my God, we were on another network, and then we just moved over here to UPR and talk radio, and we just kept it going. And I guess whenever you do something for a certain amount of time, okay, um, you're going to kind of like get tired of it, and that's not good. Well, it's good and it's not good. It's not good because you feel like deep down inside that you have all these people, who have listened to you, and all of a sudden, you know, you just like drop the show, and it takes a toll on you. But like I said before, I've learned a lot through Michael. Michael, God bless Michael. God bless Jason. God bless um, John Ventry. You know, I mean, I've met a lot of incredible people. You know, but it's time to make the change. So if nobody has ever seen Into the Night, I'm really, I like I was telling before Jen came in, I don't really talk about the paranormal a lot. Um, I do come up and just talk about what's on my mind, you know. And what's on my mind right now is, I mean, you've been reading it in the newspapers, you've been listening to it on the radio, and you can talk about it, talk about it for the longest time, but you know what? It's just not, it's just not happening, you know. And I look at the one word, you know, people ask, well, what can you do? And Michael Anthony had the big thing. He's like, go and call your senators, go stand at the polls during vote, show your support. Because what you hear on the news today, okay, is not really what's happening below the surface. And it's ridiculous. I'm 61 years old. It was just my birthday, okay? And never in my mind, or as long as I grew up, did I ever think or figure out that the way the world is today, that it would ever end up that way? No, not at all. I never thought. And then, you got these Gen Xers, and I'm a boomer, okay? I'm a boomer, so um, we care, but we really don't care, right? And we just see our whole world fall apart. It falls apart right in front of us. And what can we do? Who knows what we can do? I know what I'm going to do. I am going to go and vote, and I am going to stand by and show my support. And I'm going to, talk as much as I can about certain situations, on what's there to be, what to do. There's a lot of crap out there that needs to be brought out. But I just need to, put everything into perspective and just listen. And just listen to people. Listen to what they have to say. You know. But back to me. you know, and that's another thing about my show, okay, Into the Night. I just talk, like I said, I talk about everything, but I jump all over the place, you know. I'm not on one specific topic. I just talk, you know. Um, but when it comes to any paranormal experiences, nothing like that, you know. I really stepped away from the paranormal investigating. I did, you know. Like Jenny, you know, she's had enough on, um, you know, doing podcasts here. I did ghost hunting for 17 years. Okay. And I just got too old. I got too old for it because to think about it, you know, just think about it that um, when I was like in the 40s when I first started it, okay, I mean, I could go out Saturday night, come back at 3 in the morning, wake up, be at work at 9. Not a problem, right? Not a problem at all. But as I got older, I could not stay up until 3 o'clock in the morning. No, I mean, I'm lucky I made it to 1. But if I, you know, I mean, I would go to bed around 3:30, and I'd have to be up at 8 just to go to work, you know. And I'm like, I just can't do it no more. But don't get me wrong, I had a lot of fun, you know, investigating the paranormal. Traveled to a lot of places. Met a lot of very, very good people in the field. But I know I mentioned this about 3 or 4 weeks ago, maybe 5, I'm not sure. But um, what I'm enjoying now is that there is a lot of young people stepping up to the plate, forming their own groups, okay, and starting their own groups and going out there with the equipment, finding things, you know, looking for that evidence, looking for that best piece of evidence that they got out there, you know. At one point in time, I was exactly like that. That's what I did. I did that too. But from my time to the time now is like a complete 180, 380, 280, whatever it is, because they have better equipment now. You know, there's more learning skills. You know, you can learn from the TV, you can learn from other paranormal groups. It's really, really cool, you know. So I really seriously hope who has started their groups out there now, you know, I wish them all a lot of success. My friend that I was telling you about, Mr. Matt Barron, um, he has a couple like little different things on his um, Facebook, YouTube, and what Matt and Tony Kalalos, they go and they help out the brand. Hey, David Spicknell Senior, how you doing, buddy? Everybody, this is David. Good to see you, pal. Dave was Dave is from out east, and you know, I when I first started PPS, I had different different groups, you know, that were like Pittsburgh Paranormal Society, but they were at different places. And Dave had Gettysburg. Oop, myself. But Dave, he's a good friend of mine, very good friend of mine. Welcome aboard, buddy. Have you done any investigations up in Gettysburg? You know, just share how you feel. You know what you want to say. That's for everybody. You know. Um, but my friend Matt and Tony, that they go out and they help groups. Okay, they help groups um, who are having a hard time dealing with other, not as of late. Okay, Dave. Me neither. But you know, there's a lot of envy. There's a lot of jealousy, a lot of egotistical stuff going on in the paranormal field between the different paranormal groups. Okay, and it's not good. It's not good at all. You know, no one should ever have to tell this group that their pictures aren't that good, or that audio thing they got was no good, or I don't understand what they're talking about, or it just make fun of it. It has to be paranormal unity. Okay, it's paranormal unity. It's not who's better than who. That's for the old ages. And what's it prove? What's it prove? You're going to get your own TV show? Is that what you think you're going to get? I mean, and then you're like, so trust me, good luck at getting your own TV show. If that's what you want, it does not mean you have to step on toes on other groups or other people to do it. Because those producers will look at you and they will tell you straight out, we don't like you guys. And then you say, well, why don't you like us? Because they usually come back and say, well, you're not what we're looking for, so we don't want you. We don't like how you run your group. Or, or we don't like the way you talk down to your own group members. We don't like that, They're not nice, and they're not nice to you either when they come back and tell you, you're not going to get anything. So if you really seriously want to be a paranormal investigator, go out and do your research, go out, get your pictures, go out and do what you have to do. And if it is meant to be, okay, then you will get on TV. You also got, a lot of people are doing, YouTubes, doing investigations on YouTubes. I know they're doing them on TikTok. Okay. I see it happening. They do lives. Maybe it's not worldwide. Well, TikTok is, YouTube is, but I think TikTok's worldwide. But, people do it on there. And that's all you want. Affirmation. You want to be, hey, you guys are good. Good, congratulations. You're going to go for it. But I will tell you this, and this is from my past experience with all this, okay? Here's my past experience, is that more people will watch you on YouTube than they would on TV. You think there's a lot of money? From what I understand, you can make a lot of money on YouTube. And I hear you can make a lot of money doing TikTok and stuff like that. Do it. Just do it. But don't be an ass, okay? Don't be an ass in the way of getting to where you want to be. Because it's just not going to work. It's not. A while back, 2012, me and my friend Marty Patterson, Marty came up to me and he said, do you want to help me do a TV paranormal show? I said, sure, not a problem. Not a problem at all. And so we set it up. And the name of the show was called Raw Fear. And with Raw Fear, what I told him, I said, the only way I'm going to really accept this is that if we get like 8 kids who never been on an investigation, that we take them on a 13, do 13 episodes with them. Okay. And he said, sure, no problem. And so we started Raw Fear, and we grabbed like 8 people, 4 girls, 4 boys, who never investigated. The youngest was 18, the oldest was like 22. And they never done the investigating. They watched it on TV, but they never actually done it themselves. And we did 13 shows. And we took 8 kids and we showed them how to do investigations. And they were 1-hour shows, okay? They were on WPMY, My Pittsburgh TV, okay? I had to pay for them. I'm not going to tell you how much, but it was pretty expensive. But I had to pay for the 13 episodes. And it's not like I'm made out of money. We all pitched in and did it. But I wanted to get my point over there, out there. Okay. My point is, whenever you watch TV, you watch the paranormal shows out there, and they're out there in different places, and ooh, look at that! I got pulled, I got tugged. Look at that mist over there. Look at this. Look at that. Oh, how exciting! Gonna run and scream and pat my chest and cry into somebody's arms. You see that out there, right? But that wasn't what Raw Fear was about. Okay? Raw Fear was legitimate investigations. Legitimate. With the K2, EVPs, a camera. That was it. The basic tools for an investigation. And the first thing I told these kids when we got them together, I said, I told them straight out, because a lot of them were actors, or they were going to school to be actors and actresses, okay? And I told them, if I said to them, I said, if I see you acting, you're gone. If I see you acting in these episodes that we film, you're gone. Because I don't want no acting. I just want you all to be yourselves. And so we proceeded. We did the investigations. First show was great. The second show, believe it or not, we didn't catch nothing. We didn't get no words. We didn't get no mist. We didn't get no knockings. We didn't get this. We didn't get that. And you know what? We put it up on the TV for everybody to see. Because the main reason behind it was, I told him at the beginning of the show and after the show, it's like, not all investigations that you get something, you get any type of evidence. You don't. And I said, we did not deliberately go out and try not to get anything to show you. We just did a regular investigation. We didn't get nothing. And so as the weeks went by, okay, we went to different places, pretty cool places. And then all of a sudden, people really started to jump on the show. And, even though I still had to pay for it, and these kids didn't make a buck. I didn't make a buck. Marty didn't make a buck. We put all our monies into this. But me and Marty took these 8 kids who never investigated in their lives. And we worked with them up to the 13 shows, to the 13th episode, which was funny because it has all them bloopers in it. That was cool. But the first 12, up to the 12, and by the time episode 12 came on, okay, by the time episode 12 came on, they were so good. They knew what they had to do. They never asked any questions. They were very, very, very professional. In fact, I'll tell you what, they got really professional at the 6th episode. And it just, from 6 on up to 12, I'm telling you right now that I did not have to tell them what to do because they knew how to do it. And they never, ever, ever, ever called out anybody. They never called out a ghost. They never called out a spirit. Never did. Okay. They just went in, investigated. Then we looked at the evidence, and then whatever we caught, we put it on the show. It was an orb, it was a little EVP, whatever. But we put it on there. But those are actual live investigations, regular investigations that we put on TV. And a lot of people came up to me and they said to me, thank you for doing that. Because when I watch the TV shows that are on TV, they always seem to have to get something. There's always like, You know, and I'm telling you, this is what the people say. They're like, okay, well, they're in this room, and all of a sudden, oh my God, did you hear that noise? And it was like halfway down the damn hall. And they all freak out, go berserk. Nah, not at all. If you want a good investigating team, if you want a good investigation, and you want to go on one, do your research. Do your research and look for groups who are good, who are that are knowledgeable, who will take you under your wing. It's the only way you're going to learn. You ain't going to learn off the TV. A lot of people, will say, yeah, we did because they did this and they did that. No, you have to learn on your own. You got to come up with your own way to investigate. And eventually what will happen, you will come up with something. And I just wish you a lot of happy hunting on that. But don't ever, ever, ever use your ego to make yourself better to where you're at is you're on the same level as every other paranormal investigator out there. Because once you use that ego, and once you get up there, there's a lot of people that are going to knock you down. I've been knocked down, I'll be honest with you, because I had an ego a long time ago. Oh, and another thing I'd like to tell you too, you go to an investigation and you get the perfect solid apparition on video, and you get a perfect EVP voice at the same time that you caught the audio with the girl, whoever it was. And you know deep in your heart that you experienced this. This is where you got it from. This is all yours. Don't ever put it out there to tell people, because they're going to ridicule you. And they're going to come up and they're going to Photoshop that. Yeah, you Photoshop that. But you know deep down inside that you caught that on that investigation. They're going to ridicule you. For some reason, I guess A, they're jealous. B, they just have nothing better in their lives to do except to, tell people that, they're not good. Even, it's funny because there's a lot of people that got some good apparitions, that got some good evidence. And they did put it on other paranormal groups that they belong to, okay? And they knocked them down because they didn't believe it. And so they had to say something stupid. And the one person completely quit ghost hunting. And she was a very good ghost hunter. She was. Very, very good. She's really passionate about it. She enjoyed doing it. She wanted to do more of it. She wanted to teach people. But just that one person destroyed her, and that was it. You don't do that. You don't freaking do that. So, and one more piece of advice about the ghost hunting, okay? One more piece of advice. Please do not try to go out there, okay, and do it on your own. Please don't hop a gate. Always ask permission to go into a cemetery before you go in. Because seriously, if you didn't get permission, you can actually get arrested for trespassing. But don't jump. Go with a team that knows what they're doing, and enjoy yourself. And I can guarantee it, if you started asking them questions, they will answer that question all the time. And they will take you under your wing, under their wing, and they will take care of you. So anybody that's starting up, ghost hunting, paranormal investigating, whatever you want to call it, good luck. Good luck to you guys. And I really mean it from the bottom of my heart. Now, another interesting thing, a lot of people have said to me is that the different types of ghosts that are out there, right? Do ghosts exist? Yes, they do exist. I believe that. That is my opinion. Okay. And there are some people out there that believe that ghost does not exist, that it's just a figment of your imagination. Whatever you're thinking in the brain is what you're projecting out there that other people can see. And then there's other people that believe that your mind, like I said, perfecting, but there's other people that believe that spirits don't exist because they have no reason, because I guess they're skeptic or whatever you want to call it, right? But to me personally, spirits do exist. Absolutely. I've seen them. I felt them. I heard them. They do. But you have to be very, very careful when you start, moving into that situation, okay? To where you're starting to see ghosts, that you're starting to hear ghosts and stuff like that, because a lot of ghosts out there, okay, are not good ghosts. They're not. All right. A lot of them are bad. And a lot of them know how you are feeling at the moment. So, I mean, if you're feeling angry, if you're feeling sad, if you feel like you're being manipulated, if you feel like this and you feel like all depressed, you're going to have a lot. Thank you, River. Yes, they do exist, very much so. Thank you. Thumbs up. But, you got to be careful. You seriously need to be careful because you don't know if it's a bad ghost or a good ghost. What I've come up with the conclusion with is that no matter if you were a bad person growing up or living and you died, then your spirit, honestly, is going to be a bad spirit. I believe that. And if you were a good person when you were alive, and then you're going to have a good spirit when you die. Ladies and gentlemen, see my body, my skin, my hands, my face. That's all a shell. That's all a shell. So when I die, my spirit leaves and my shell dies. And a lot of people think, oh, I'm never going to see anybody again, blah, blah, blah. I understand that, but you got to realize that the spirit within us is still riding around. And we're still there. But back to what I was getting at, all right, just be careful when you go out there. Don't conjure up a ghost. You know what I mean? Thinking, okay, because that ghost will tell you, hey, my name is Billy, and that was the question you were looking for, the answer, because you said that in your mind. You asked your question, and you knew the answer was Billy, and your hand moved to be Billy, and they knew that. So they're kind of like manipulating you. They're manipulating. And then what happens once they manipulate you, okay, your depression is so bad, all the sad anxieties, the whole 9 yards is completely down. And what they're going to do is latch on to you. They're going to latch on. They're going to either possess you or else they're just going to go wherever you're going to go. And then they're going to make life hell for you. They will make life hell, And then you have to get into going to, try to get exercised or go to a church and get blessed or whatever they do nowadays. I've seen it happen. I've seen that. So just be careful when you go out there. And again, I go back to the golden rule. The golden rule is go out with somebody that we're doing. Okay? Excuse me. Yeah, mouth's getting dry a little. But just be careful what you do. Ghost hunting is a lot of fun. There's a lot of good history in it. There's a lot of good places to go to. I believe there's a lot of places down the Tennessee River. And I know there's a lot of places up in Gettysburg, David, and God only knows what's over in England, Virgil. You know what I mean? But like I'm retiring in 7 years. Okay, I am. And I'm gone. I'm gone from Pittsburgh. And I'm going to go all over the place. And yes, I will tell you, I will investigate my own or find a group that I can investigate with while I'm there. I'm going to do that. I'm also going to prospect gold. And I'm also going to go out and find the histories of the places that I do go and really, really look into what I'm looking for. I'm going to do that. And I'm looking forward to it. All I know is that I hope that the next goes by really, really quick. Honest to gosh, I really do. Because I'm just getting tired. River says, "Oh, I got the clicker thingy." Let me say show. River says, "I wonder why some people who know the truth can't be harmed by these spirits, why some seem to have some kind of protection on them, but yet we have experienced them." That's a good, that's a good thing to think about. I wonder why some people who know the truth can't be harmed by these spirits. I would think because, they know, like, you know, my dad. Okay, I'm saying this right for you, but my dad, who has passed away for a long time, he'll never harm me because I know my dad's there. You know, with the bad spirits um, that are hanging around me, River, honest to Pete, there are a lot of times that, especially at the beginning, where I didn't even understand that there were some bad spirits, bad energy that was going at me, coming at me. But then I realized that for me, I had to learn to learn about angels, and I had to learn about demons and stuff like that. And so once I started learning about the angels and I started working with the animal spirit guides, life became a hell of a lot easier for me to go and do these investigations. So that's my protection. A lot of people don't want to go through that. They just think they can walk into a room and like, my name is Sean Kelly and I'm going to kick everybody's butt. Oh, and Tennessee has loads of places. I'm sure there's a lot of Civil War stuff going on down there, huh, River? And then River goes, again, maybe we have strong wills, respect, and our strength and faith is strong. Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Uh, we do have strong wills. But you also got to remember, too, that sometimes wills, they get old. You know what I mean? The only thing that would hold it, and sometimes those wills will just not be willing no more. And then you really have to learn how to take. There's a saying I like to say, but I will not put it out here because there's a lot of good people out here, and I'm not going to embarrass them. I'm not going to embarrass myself. But and she goes, maybe we have strong wills, respect, and our strength and faith is strong. Of course, it's going to be. That's all we have today is faith. We have faith. You got to me, I have faith in God. Okay. There could be someone that has faith in Buddha. There's someone that could have faith in the Swami or whatever, something that they truly believe in. If there is something that you totally believe in, hold on to that with all your faith. And ask for help and ask for the protection. I hope that's pretty well what you wanted, what you were looking there for, buddy. My friend River. Good girl. Very good girl. very smart and intelligent. But I'm telling you what, River, one of these days I'm going to get down to Tennessee and we'll go do an investigation, if that's okay with you. I would enjoy that. So we are getting close. We got about 10 more minutes. Is there anybody out there in the room today, right now, at this very moment, that has any questions that they, want to ask? Maybe I'll have the answer for you. I'm not sure. I might not. Who knows? So, to recap the whole evening, on Taste and Prophecy, we have Bill Mucker, who wrote a book, or wrote two books. It's a 2020, A Clear Vision for America. And he was a good person. Taste and Prophecy is no longer going to be a show. They're not going to be a show no more. And that's okay. It ran its course. I'm going to have Into the Night, my show, Into the Night with Sean Kelly. Okay. That's going to be on Tuesday nights from 8 to 10 p.m. And we're just going to see how it goes. I'm looking forward to the challenge. And River says, yes, very well said. Oh, yes, I would love to come with you guys for a Tennessee Ghost Hunt. Oh, absolutely. Do you know, River, while you're down there, do you know the Tennessee Wraith Hunters? Do you know them boys down there? Listen to me talking, saying boys. That's funny. I know there's a group of girls down there, too, that are from Tennessee, and I believe they're deaf. They're a deaf group. I'm not sure. But, that's one thing. I mean, I got a couple minutes. I'll bring this up. All right. So we were in Virginia, and we were at the Octagon House in Virginia, in Whiteville, Virginia. And we had some friends. Hey, guys. Hello. Is that Ernie? Who knows? Hello, Mr. Facebook user. But we were down at the Octagon House, and I had three friends of mine that were down there. That actually did sign language. They were deaf, so all they could do is sign. And what was really, really crazy is that they were signing at the K2 meter, at the EM, at the REM pod. And this is the truth, dudes and dudettes. It is crazy. But as they were doing their sign language, the K2 was actually hitting. Okay. Or the REM pod was actually going off. And they all stood around, and I watched them carefully because those equipments can get manipulated, by doing certain different things. So I watched them. So it proved to me, okay, it really did prove to me that night that ghosts probably hear what you're going to say before you say it. No lie. They understand when you think of something, they understand what's inside what you want to say, and the thing goes off. And I was going in some investigations that I've been on, we went to. It was a private place, and there was a lot of, I remember it was a story. They knew I was coming a week before we went to the investigation. And let me explain, okay? So we were going to a really bad house. It was really, really haunted. There was a lot of evil in it, okay? And what happened was I just bought a brand new car. It was a Ford Taurus, 2014 Ford Taurus, I think it was, or 2012. I forget which one it was. But it was brand new. So that day, went to work. It was working. Everything was fine. The car was going fine. So I jumped in my car to go to the investigation, and the transmission fell out on a brand new car. So there are some places that when you do go and investigate, they just might not want you to go there, and they'll do everything they can to make you not get there. That is a true story. And it's not just so much with the the transmission, flat tires. I've seen flat tires, and this is one story that's really, really crazy. Okay, I remember when we first started PPS, there was a guy in my group that had a big truck. I mean, literally a big truck with big wheels on it, and on the stack of Bibles. This is no one's God's truth. So we were investigating the cemetery over in Perryopolis, and the young kid, the guy, he was, calling out the ghost in the chapel that was on there. Okay, I mean, really, really ripping into him so he could get a comment, right? So he could get something like that. Some good evidence, which I don't believe in. I do not believe in that. But what happened was, as the investigation was done, we got in our cars, and the one dude that had the truck, the one that was calling out the other spirit, right? As he was driving down, he got a flat tire. So he pulled over, and he's looking, and he said, how in the hell did I get a flat tire? Well, he took the tire off the hook, off the wheel, honest to God. And this is honest God's truth. On the inside of the tire, there was a strip, a slit that big. It's like someone stuck a knife and went down into the tire. I have no doubt in my mind. I believe there was some kind of interference from the spiritual world going on there. I have no doubt in my mind. But yeah, I could tell you there's lots of stories. So again, Chasing Prophecy was the last show tonight, and I will start mine Into the Night with Sean Kelly starting next week. If there's anything that you want me to talk about, or if there's any kind of subject that you want to bring up, just send me a message at the Pittsburgh Paranormal Society Facebook page, and we can, I'll read it and we can go from there. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I usually don't know what I'm going to talk about, but I'm sure I'll come up with something for next week. I like to do some meditations on here. I like to put people into meditations. I also read from the Animal Spirit guidebooks, the cards, the animal totems, and I'm going to pick one for you guys right now. And what I'd like you to do is I'm shuffling this deck, and whatever card that I pick up, right, I want you to go and Google the animal I'm choosing, the totem, okay, why that animal is with you. So this is for everybody, all right? So I just shuffled them, and I'm going to cut them in like threes, as you can tell. I'm cutting them in threes, one more three. All right. So, okay, so I am going to draw the card. I'm going to crack it, and everybody, if you could tell, I got the squirrel. And the squirrel's funny because you gather a lot of information, gather a lot of notes. But what I would like you to do, okay, is after this show, please go and Google the squirrel and the meaning it is with you as a totem. And some of you might need it. Some of you might get the answer. Some of you might not need the answer. So what you have to do is come back next week, listen to the show, and we'll pull another card. River says, I have a great story to go with your car story about going to a place and have something stopping you before you had to get there. It happened recently here in Tennessee. Isn't it crazy, girl? Isn't it crazy that stuff like that happens? And you ask yourself why. David, my buddy David Spitnell Sr. David, meet my friend River. River, this is my friend David. He's from Tennessee. He's from Gettysburg. But yeah, you are a squirrel. Good to see you. But isn't that crazy, River, how shit happens and you don't know why? You don't. You just don't know why. But it's been a good show. Again, I'll say it again. Chasing Prophecy will no longer be on anymore on UPRN radio. My show, Into the Night, from 8 to 10, will be on 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. I do believe, okay, yeah. Now, if you want to stick around, my friend Trish Moe, she has her show on, I think it's like around 10:15, 10:20. Okay. Her show is called The Missing Piece. And she has a great show. I mean, she has a lot of good guests on. She has a lot of good conversation with people. She's a very smart and intelligent person. And you really seriously need to listen to her show. So her show is The Missing Piece with Trish Moe. And on that note, what I'd like to share, like coming up on 10, it's almost 10 o'clock, but what I'd like to do is say, everybody, for Men's Mental Health Month, the month of June, if you need help, go to somebody and give them a hug. Give that person who's going through a hard time a hug. If you have to, just sit down and listen to them. Or just sit down and the both of you do not talk. But do something. Please be with somebody, because mental health is hard. Thank you, David. It's hard. But you know what? We're strong. We'll get through it. But the only way that I know that I will get through it is with friends like David, like River, like Virgil, like others. And I will, because you know what? They're not afraid to, say, hey, how you doing? And if I get back to you, I'll tell you straight out, no, I ain't doing good. But today I am. So on that note, parents, please, if you can, if you want to, go to your children, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. And children, please go to your parents, give them a hug, and tell them that you love them. And if you don't have no parents, or if you have no children, find a friend and give them a hug. Because those 3 words, I love you, go a long, 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 long way. And don't forget, I will be back into the night next week, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. here on UPRN Radio, 105.3 New Orleans, 107.7 Mississippi. And don't forget to Google the scroll. That card I pulled, the scroll. Google it and find out why that totem is with you today. And on that note, happy hunting. And I'm going to end it from here. I remember how to do it. Yeah. I'm trying to find mine. I want to end it right. I'll figure this out soon. Here it is. Good night, everybody.